Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we're talking about Maki Zenin and how she is the spiritual successor to Toji Fushiguro, otherwise known as Toji Zenin. With Satoru Gojo sealed, the culling games proceeding, and the Jujutsu higher-ups are getting bolder, Maki has ended up experiencing the rough end of this ordeal, where she ended up looking like this to this. Even though Maki is her own person, her story and nature shares a likeness to Toji Zenin, who is Megumi's father. Both have strong personalities and are physically powerful without having curse techniques. Maki has taken on similar burdens to Toji, but when Toji decided to leave the clan, Maki fought to eventually change it. At the end of this video, everyone in our community will understand Maki's life and how she connects to Toji in so many ways, and how is she as powerful as him. Remember, Toji was completely OP where the entire Zenin clan feared him, and he actually defeated Satoru Gojo. This is very important for all of us to understand because Maki's story is heavily interconnected with Megumi, Itadori, and what's that other dude's name? Stupid! As well as Yuta Okkotsu, who is featuring in the new movie that is about to be released, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0. So let's rewind all of this stuff all the way back to the beginning of Maki's younger days.
But before we get further into the video, I need to tell you guys about our sponsor, GEMSTONE Legends. This isn't just any sponsorship because this one is special. There is a contest you can participate in to win the main prize, iPhone 13 Pro or a Samsung Galaxy 21 Plus. Or you can even win smaller prizes like a Google Play or Apple Store gift cards. GEMSTONE Legends is a match 3 deep tactical puzzle RPG where you match gems to create combos and attacks to destroy enemies and progress through the different campaigns that the game offers. With a great tutorial and its engaging playstyle, you can get right into it and have a fun time. And of course, since it's on mobile, you can play it anywhere at any time. Honestly, we here at ABD have been grinding the hell out of it lately, and it's been really fun to play it when we need a break from scripting or waiting for the new chapters to drop. And don't just take my word for it, look at these reviews that the game has. It's rated 4.5 stars on Android and almost 5 stars on iOS. For all you new players, there is a contest of who will get the highest score and XP, where you have a chance to win an iPhone 13 Pro or a Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus. Click the link in the description or scan my QR code and you will get this awesome starter package. It includes Meralia, an amazing healer that will help you through the whole game and give you a quick and easy start. The potions, gems, and money also let you climb easier and faster. And now, back to the video.
Maki and her younger twin sister Mai are the only children of Ogi Zenin. As daughters and being born twins of the Zenin clan, Maki and Mai grew up together being seen as bad omens due to the superstitions at the time. Maki had an extremely low amount of cursed energy, to the point of not being able to see cursed spirits. However, her sister Mai was capable of doing that, despite her supposedly very weak cursed energy. Even though this was the case, as the two girls grew up, Maki was always looking after Mai. She would help her be brave when weak cursed spirits were lurking, partially because she couldn't see them. However, as the girls got older, Maki took a more warrior's approach to life. At some point, Maki started training with cursed weapons and gained glasses that allowed her to see curses. Apparently, she was a part of the Zenin Kokokoro unit, a group of all-male Zenin fighters who lacked curse techniques. Although, just to be clear, unlike Maki, they did not have heavenly restrictions. Now you're probably scratching your head right now saying, I'm confused, I forgot what heavenly restrictions are. Well, that's why we're called Balls Deep. I'm here for you. I'm gonna explain that shit because this is important to Maki's story. Heavenly restriction is a type of condition that affects a person's relationship with curse energy and their body. There is a difference between lacking curse energy and not being a Jujutsu sorcerer. Heavenly restriction is a binding placed on a Jujutsu sorcerer at birth in exchange for improved abilities in a separate capacity. An example of this is with Mekamaru. He was blessed by the heavens to receive an immense amount of cursed energy. In exchange, he was born with a sickly and fragile body. In Maki's case, she was quite literally the opposite. She is the definition of built different, fam. Her heavenly restriction was the exchange of curse energy and technique, which would have been granted to her in normal circumstances for an increase in her physical prowess. Due to this heavenly restriction, Maki naturally had abnormal physical feats, so all she needed was a weapon to body people and some special glasses to fight her enemy. Hence, the Zenin clan let her into the Kokoro unit. Now, due to the politics, and even though they let her into the unit, Maki was still looked down upon the Zenin clan for being a female, as well as lacking a curse technique and not being able to see curses. When Maki was old enough, she decided to leave the Zenin clan and go to the Tokyo School of Jujutsu. She vowed to her uncle, Naobito, to one day return, dethroning his position and becoming the next clan leader. You telling me this bitch? No, I can't even call her bitch, cause she's the girl. She went up to man, disrespected hundreds and hundred years of tradition, saying, "You're prejudiced against me. I'm coming for your head when I become OP and unlock my protagonist powers, bitch." I'm getting hype. I'm sorry, guys. I digress. So obviously, this disrespect made him upset. So Naobito, in response, declared he would make her younger sister Mai's life extremely difficult on the day she decides to leave the clan. Despite her anger, as Mai had nothing to do with this, Maki strengthens her resolve and leaves regardless. In many ways, Maki's decision and even her entire life parallels that of Toji Fushiguro, who also decided to leave the clan. However, in Maki's case, she had always intended to go back and change it. Now, during Maki's freshman year at Tokyo Jujutsu High, she met Panda, Unumaki, and later on, Yuta Okkotsu. By the time Yuta arrived, Maki was known for her ability to wield a weapon as well as her natural speed and strength. She also trained Yuta in the katana combat when he first arrived. Naturally, as time went on of their training, of them going on missions, Maki became close with Yuta and told him about her lack of curse energy and their dream to destroy the Zenin clan. Yuta vouched to help, but she said it was something she had to do alone. However, due to the Zenin clan's influence with the higher ups, Maki was kept as a 3rd grade sorcerer until the 2nd year. In the world of Jujutsu sorcery, ranking holds a lot of significance, especially when we come to the politics. If Maki wished to make any changes and be taken seriously, she had to prove her worth, and the best way to do this was to become a special grade sorcerer. This is when we move on to the Goodwill Event. So as a 2nd year, to get out of the 3rd grade ranking and progress further, Maki staked her chances on the Goodwill Event. Maki easily swept through every Kyoto student she ran into, including her own sister Mai Zenin. The encounter with Mai was emotionally driven, of course, where she revealed her resentment for Maki because she left, asking why couldn't she just stay at the bottom with her. Maki responded that, "Bitch, you know, I'm a protagonist, why would I do that? She gonna be happy living like that," and then proceeded to apologize. However, this is a tough situation for both sides. Think about it. Considering that Maki wants to be respected and honored, whilst Mai had no issue with just being a servant to the Zenin clan. In the inside, what was truly important to Mai was her relationship with her older sister. Remember guys, all her childhood, she was protected and reassured by Maki. She loves her. Imagine that one person you depend on just one day ends up disappearing. That would shatter anyone. Mai ultimately loses, and as Maki walks away, Mai calls her a liar whilst recalling her childhood where her sister promised to never leave her side. As Maki continues on to win the Goodwill Event, finally feeling she is one step closer to her goals, suddenly the special grade spirit Hanami attacks. This is where Maki showcases her true skill as she holds her own with Megumi until he gets hurt. her. Now we all know how this got wrapped up, with Todo and Yuji sorting shit out until Satoru freaking Gojo does his thing. After the events of the Goodwill incident and not too long prior to the Shibuya incident, Maki ended up getting nominated by Mei and Todo to be promoted to a first grade sorcerer. Now let's move on to the Shibuya incident. In the Shibuya incident, Maki was teamed up with Nobara and Naobito Zenin, but once Satoru Gojo got sealed, she ended up fighting Dagon with Naobito and Nanami, alongside Megumi, who shows up with her weapon of choice, the Special Grade Curse 2 Playful Cloud. Now the weapon choice for Maki here was really interesting because Playful Cloud was a weapon used by Suguru Geto back during the JJK prequel volume 0, the movie that is about to come up. Maki fights well against Dagon until they can get to Megumi's domain entrance, but then a puppet copy of Toji appears within the domain and snatches Playful Cloud from Maki, who then goes berserk on Dagon. Maki could only sit back in awe saying, "Oh my god, who's this hunk of a man?"
Shut up, bitch!
But she's sitting in awe as she watched Toji decimate Dagon. She was surprised that she was outmatched in pure strength and got a full view of the Zenin man who had escaped the curse of the clan, something she wants to do herself. This was another moment connecting Toji and Maki together, literally showing her what she could become one day in her life. After Dagon's defeat, Toji snatches Megumi and Maki gets set on fire by Jogo along with Naobito and Nanami. Now moving on to Post-Shibuya. Seemingly dead until seen after the events, Maki sustained heavy burn marks. However, her insane physical durability helped her survive the attack. At some point, she met with Megumi after he was announced as the head of the Zenin clan by Naobito's will. Megumi, refusing the position, tries to relinquish it to Maki, but she denies it, saying she wasn't strong enough yet to make a place there for Mai. Later, with the help of Yuki, she is reunited with Yuta, Megumi, and Yuji. They go to Master Tengen to find out how to stop Kenjaku and the Culling Game plan, ultimately saving Megumi's sister along with their sensei Satoru freaking Gojo. You can't just say Satoru Gojo, you have to say Satoru freaking Gojo. I'm joking. Alright, let's move on. After receiving the answers they needed from Master Tengen to proceed the plot, in anticipation for the Culling Games that Kenjaku has planned, Maki decides to go get weapons from the Zenin warehouse with Megumi's permission, due to him now being the current head of the Zenin clan. However, expecting a not so warm welcome from the Zenin clan, of course, Maki pays a visit to Juzo's workshop so she can grab a strong weapon, preparing for the worst. This is when we look into the Zenin massacre. That's right guys, this is where everything for Maki starts to go bad. She is heading into enemy territory with no support, believing that following protocol is okay. On top of that, they know her motives, her philosophy, her goals, what she wants to do since childhood, so of course they're not okay with that and they are corrupt. Maki runs into Naoya, her cousin, who scolds her and tries to bully her about her past, but does no harm to her as she ignores his taunts. Her mother tries to convince her to turn around, but instead she flashes her key to get into the warehouse and goes inside. There, Maki sees her sister Mai bleeding out on the ground, with their father Ogi Zenin standing above her. Ogi reveals that he has removed the weapons from the area and that he intends to kill her and Mai. Talk about being a trash shitty father. Put this guy on the list of the top 10 worst father in anime. This guy just as bad as the one from Fullmetal Alchemist that made a daughter into a dog. I'm just saying. Anyway, I digress. Despite Naobito's will, the Zenin clan higher-ups didn't want to give the leadership to Megumi. So Ogi with the other members plotted a plan to kill Maki, Mai, and Megumi at once, in the guise of taking action for the Jujutsu higher-ups with the new law placed on forbidding the assistants to free Satoru Gojo, because remember, Satoru Gojo was pinned to be the person behind the Shibuya incident by the corrupt higher-ups, as they didn't want to take the blame and wanted to move the politics of sorcery into their favor. Maki is hit with complete shock seeing Mai hurt, whereas Mai calls her an idiot for even coming. Maki prepares to fight her father and pulls out the weapon she got from Juzo's workshop, a sword called Dragon Bone. Maki fights her father in a 1v1 sword clash, but she is defeated and knocked out. Ogi grabs the twins and drags them to a door and throws them into a pit filled with grade 2 curses. At the same time, he's ranting, going off about Maki not being special just because she has physical strength and speed, but nothing to do with curse techniques, nothing to do with cursed energy. And he's like, yo, bad daughter, kind of reminds me of my childhood and my family. Asians, am I right? Not even Asians, all of us, right? Oh, gee. Now, right now, I'll be passing the video over to Harrison, who will be going over the moment Maki becomes like Toji and why did she become like Toji. Because she ends up massacring her whole clan. We will provide all the answers so the whole story of Jujutsu Kaisen can make sense to you.
Okay, so it all begins in this very dungeon. After being condemned to death, Mai cradles Maki holding her head on her lap, ensuring that she is breathing. At this moment, Mai decides to accept the truth of her relationship with Maki. She says aloud how she knew this scenario would happen, emphasizing how much it sucks while placing her forehead and lips on Mai's. The scenery changes to what can be assumed to be Mai and Maki's innate domain, which is the special area dependent upon the person. An example being where we see Yuji talking to Sukuna inside himself in the Graveyard of Bones. For those that may have forgotten, an innate domain is the space that represents the soul and can also be seen as the precursor to a domain expansion. Now this is pretty crazy, as innate domains, unless manifested, can't be used to bring in another person. However, Mai and Maki are identical twins, meaning their DNA strands are the exact same. Twins not only share DNA, but also the exact same cursed energy and cursed techniques, treating the twins as one individual. This is why they can be within the same innate domain without being in one body like Yuji and Sukuna. The body is the soul, and the soul is the body. The philosophy established by Kenjaku and Mahito's abilities, meaning identical twins are also connected by the soul and not just the body. And so, whilst the two are within their soul at their moment interacting with one another, Maki begins to undergo her tragically attained transformation. In this realm, Mai explains to Maki that her cursed technique doesn't let her make big or complicated things, but because she is so injured, once she finishes making this, she will die. Mai's ability, after all, is creation, and that allows her to create something using cursed energy, but expends a massive amount of her energy in doing so. Therefore, by making the item she is about to make on top of her injuries, she is sure to use up the final bits of her energy and die. As Mai says her goodbyes, she then finally breaks down why she is making this sacrifice, starting with explaining the real reason twins are bad omens in the Jujutsu world, as the Jujutsu world is governed by the principle of gaining from an offering. This applies to binding vow, heavenly restriction, and many other facets of application, as with the concept of suffering to become stronger. However, this principle does not apply to twins, due to the reason I mentioned earlier, of twins being recognized as a single entity by cursed techniques. As Mai states to Maki, "You are me, and I am you." This means for Maki to grow as a sorcerer, Mai has to get stronger too, otherwise it will be a wasted effort. This makes the twins dependent on each other, which is detrimental because Jujutsu is an independent profession. As Gojo stated himself, you will always die alone, making it important to have individualism and mental fortitude. For two people's potential to be reliant on one another, it only makes their lives challenging to be a Jujutsu sorcerer, whilst also leaving each of them cursed. Maki wanted to be stronger but was not able to be, and Mai wanted to live a normal life, enjoying the simpler things. Maki is confused as Mai walks towards the ocean, and continues to explain that she had realised a long time ago that because they are twins, they are one. Because Mai doesn't want to get stronger, Maki can't become stronger. The two of them are bound together by the soul due to their cursed energy. The rules of cursed energy applies to both of them, even if Maki's is very low. It is because of her soul and connection to Mai that she has not attained complete heavenly restriction. Mai has a cursed technique whilst Maki does not, them being called omens as children is because of the way cursed energy treats identical twins. Mai says she has to give up something for Maki to truly become stronger because she can't do as long as she is around, meaning to give Maki a fighting chance, Mai must give up her life. So now she is making the ultimate sacrifice for her sister. This innate domain is symbolism for Mai's transition into the afterlife, leaving behind hope and success for her sister. This is the final moment between the two, with Mai crossing into the sea, inspired from Japanese Buddhism of the crossing to Sanzu River. The Sanzu River, or also known as the River of Three Crossings, is the point where all souls reach before they go to the afterlife. And depending on how they live their lives, they will have different points of crossing leading them to different paths. But before Mai passes through and says her final goodbyes, Maki tries to stop her. Mai hands her something and tells her that she is going to leave only this and throw the rest away. I'll take everything, even the cursed energy with me, but promise me one thing: destroy everything. Everything, big sister. With the twins' appearances becoming that of children, Mai is smiling at Maki as Maki looks shocked to hear her being called big sister. This makes me really want to cry. I can't lie, okay? I'm a man of emotions. I cry when I watch sad shit, and this was one of those moments. But I think it's important to notice that Mai looked sad while in her present day form, but smiles when she is a child, implying she is happy leaving everything to Maki, her strong-willed big sister, who is fighting to protect her all along. Maki looks down to see a reed in her hand, a symbol of geese and freedom in Japanese culture. Then it turns into the hilt of a sword. Reeds are actually very powerful for symbolism here, due to the Japanese phrase wild goose carrying reeds, which embraces the belief that geese would have reeds when flying across the ocean to rest their wings. Clearly this is to represent Mai crossing over, or her rest. However, she is truly discovering freedom for herself whilst establishing freedom for Maki. Taking away Maki's cursed energy is also breaking Maki's ties to the Zenin curse, allowing her the capability to destroy the clan itself. The geese drawn by Akutami also embody Mai and Maki's flight to freedom. Akutami commonly uses animals to characterize moments, examples being Itadori and Mahito's fight with wolves, and Yaga's death where a moth is shown dead under a streetlight. With Mai's death, Maki wakes up from her innate domain, feeling despair after losing her sister. The sword Mai had created for her materialized in her hands. This sword is technically a representation of Mai herself, with her cursed energy and final will imbued in it. Mai's death goes back to the principle of exchange she was talking about earlier. To gain something, you have to give something. And she gave her life to give rise to a new Maki. Maki now being untethered by any cursed energy, having full effect of her heavenly restriction, along with wielding a yet to be graded cursed weapon left by Mai, which I believe to probably be special grade due to the way it was made. Maki was able to instantly wipe all the cursed spirits in the dungeon. She steps out to shake her father Ogi to his core, making him see an after image of Toji. This comparison is perfect, as Toji was stated by Megumi to be Maki fully realized back in Shibuya. With Mai taking her cursed energy, Maki has now reached that same level as Toji, described by Yuki in chapter 77 as a superhuman immune to cursed energy. In fact, let's actually break down what Mai meant by saying she has taken everything, including the cursed energy. Well, as I stated earlier, both Maki and Mai technically share cursed energy. Mai literally is taking all of Maki's cursed energy along with her own here. Effectively, this removed the limitations of Maki's heavenly restriction, making the exchange similar to that of Toji's. After all, her gaining this level of power directly relates to her being his spiritual successor, and there are a few things that need to be explained in detail to fully grasp it. For the case of Toji's heavenly restriction, he had what Master Tengen described as escaped from cursed energy, meaning he had none. That's right, none at all, but this gave him extremely high physical prowess, being able to fight using hand-to-hand combat extremely well. He still needed a cursed weapon to kill curses, of course, because only cursed energy and positive energy can kill curses. Even lacking cursed energy, Toji could still see cursed spirits. Yuki specifically said that he could sense them with all 5 of his senses, and this was clarified by Akutami in the Jujutsu Kaisen fanbook. Remember, regular humans who are not sorcerers and cannot see cursed spirits do have cursed energy. That cursed energy is what manifests curses, because that negative energy is exerted outside people's bodies without them knowing. Jujutsu sorcerers are different because their cursed energy circulates around inside them, allowing them to see and feel curses, as well as use that cursed energy to enhance their bodies and use cursed techniques. Toji is someone with entirely no cursed energy at all. Maki's original heavenly restriction at birth was similar to Toji's but had major differences. Maki couldn't see or sense curses, but she still had her speed and strength that was abnormally high. Also, she wasn't completely void of cursed energy. She had very little, yet there was nothing she could really do with it. And of course, she needed weapons and cursed tools to kill curses. And the fact that she and her twin shared the same soul space, Mai having cursed energy and technique, prevented Maki from having a complete restriction. Being a twin disrupted the flow of the give and take conditions one would receive in the heavenly restrictions, placing Maki in limbo, as she was restricted but not fully blessed to receive the full benefits like Toji was. Therefore, Maki sacrificed herself and took all the cursed energy in both their soul pool, and created a weapon Maki could use to fight. Now, with no cursed energy between them, Maki's heavenly restriction is no longer disrupted, and very much like Megumi's overpowered father, Toji Fushiguro. So now, with her newfound power and sword, Maki wakes up with Mai dead on the ground, still holding her head, surrounded by the second grade cursed spirits released in the dungeon. As Maki repeatedly begs for Mai to wake up, she realizes it's too late. Instantly, she wipes out all of the cursed spirits to then bring Mai's body out of the pit. Maki's father is shocked that all the curses were killed and runs back to the pit, but the instant he made contact with Maki's presence, he began to feel the same fear he felt against Toji. The reason Maki's dad felt this level of fear is because of how Maki has now fully embodied what Toji represented to the Zenin clan: death. You see, Toji was treated like crap from birth, even worse than Maki and Mai. In the Jujutsu Kaisen fanbook, Akutami clarifies that Toji's scar is from him being thrown into a cursed spirit pit as a child. This is most likely the same pit Maki and Mai were thrown into, making Maki arriving out of the pit to kill Ogi even more poetic. Now, with the same heavenly restriction as Toji, Maki has embodied his legacy physically, giving her the ability to fight back 100%. So now, Ogi is faced with his daughter at the highest level of power she could possibly be. Ogi yells some nonsense about killing Maki, but she decimates her father in one swipe of the sword Mai made, then begins to carry on the destruction she promised. Maki fights all of the Zenin clan's top warriors in one go. Like a scene ripped straight out of Kill Bill, Maki is surrounded by the Zenin Kukuru unit alone, holding both Dragonbone and Mai's blade poised for battle. This is nothing for her as she runs through the room killing all of the members. In a display of pure badassery, Maki starts cutting off heads, faces, limbs, absolutely everything. Next, Jinichi, Ranta and Chojuro Zenin show up. These men are the Hei, the strongest sorcerers in the Zenin clan, at least semi-grade 1 or higher. They try to take down Maki in a group effort but are fodder in comparison. Maki's speed outclasses their movements and their abilities seemingly lack any real effect on her. The youngest of the Hei fighters, Ranta, tries to hold Maki down with this cursed technique, while yelling to Jinichi that she has become just like Toji. Interestingly, Ranta says that the Zenin clan existed because of Master Toji's whim. So not only is he placing an honorific on Toji, but also confirms that Toji could have destroyed the clan if he wanted to, however decided not to do so. With Maki temporarily immobilized by Ranta's cursed eyes, Jinichi goes all out using a barrage of massive fists from the air, which is clearly his cursed technique. However, this is Maki all unleashed. Ranta's ability causes him to go blind trying to stop her, so he never sees Maki carry Jinichi's head with her out of the smoke from the battle with Naoya, the leader of the Hei, waiting for her. Naoya asks Maki if she has a heart, to which she answers, no, it was taken away from me, implying that Mai was the heart that she once had. Maki is a cold-blooded killer kill her at this very moment. She doesn't mind wiping out the rest of her clan, especially because it was the final wish of her heart. Toji was known as the Sorcerer Killer, and now Maki might just get that very same title. What makes all of this even crazier is that Naoya is a Toji fanboy and hates Maki because he sees her as an imposter. Naoya as a kid saw Toji as a symbol of power and strength. His misogyny clouded his judgment towards Maki, only seeing her as a fake. Before, Naoya teased her about being weak and hiding behind Megumi and Yuta's power, but now he is facing a Maki who isn't held back by the curse of having an identical twin. She is her own version of Toji. Naoya pulls out full power trying to kill Maki. Using the projection sorcery technique, Naoya sends Maki flying and crashing through multiple walls. He hits her with punches, kicks, and literally throws her against the wall, but it doesn't seem to do any effective damage at all. Finally, Maki begins her counter. She was actually using the moments of Naoya's attacks to learn the counter Naoya's ability and counter him at the perfect moment to land a clean punch to his face, knocking him out. Shortly after, Maki confronts her mother once more, then takes her sister's body out of the compound to where Mai's classmate and friend Momo is. This is a terribly sad moment and showcases how much Maki has lost in this whole ordeal. Maki decides to find the other members of the Kukuru unit and Hei, who are not present in the area, to kill them as well, leaving Megumi and Maki to be the only remaining members of the Zenin clan alive. The son of Toji and the spiritual successor of Toji are now the only people left to represent the Zenin clan. So in the end, Toji's legacy has overcome the clan as a whole. Maki wanted to become strong enough to change the Zenin clan so that Mai could be happy, but she couldn't really attain her true strength because Mai existed and had a cursed technique. Now that Mai is dead and Maki has strength, she has obliterated the clan. But now what goal will she aspire for? Or will she fall down a hole of darkness, similar to Toji himself? In the Jujutsu Kaisen book, Toji's heart was once Megumi's mother, who had shortly died after his birth. We aren't sure how she died, but Akutami has confirmed that Toji went down a dark path after losing Megumi's mother. Maki losing Mai can be a parallel to Toji facing that same despair. Instead of losing a spouse, Maki lost her true reason for wanting to change the Zenin clan, her sister Mai. Now that Mai is dead, Maki no longer has a heart, so her motivations and drive for becoming a powerful sorcerer have changed, but it's unclear what she will do next. Once Mai and Maki had their final moment together, Maki became everything Toji was in power, as well as naturally adopting his same cold-blooded fighting methods. As Akutami described Toji, he was the one that escaped the curse of the Zenin clan, gaining his form of freedom away from them. Mai handing Maki the reed was the final sign needed for Maki to gain her own freedom. The idea of massacring her entire family is crazy, but not only were they after her life, they tried their hardest to keep her imprisoned even at a distance by hindering her ability to grow within the Jujutsu school. Maki's freedom was only gained with the loss of what was driving her to be powerful in the first place. With the Culling Games going on, it is unclear if Maki will continue to assist her fellow peers in saving Gojo to stop Kenjaku, or if she will create a new goal and follow her own path. However, like Toji, it's likely that Maki will move on and create a new family. Toji remarried to Tsumiki's mother along with changing his family name to hers, Fushiguro, leaving his past behind him for the future. Unfortunately though, the past didn't leave him, and he ended up being haunted by it to eventually take on a job that killed him. On the other hand, Maki is surrounded by good friends, from Yuta, Yuji, Panda, Inumaki, Megumi and more. They are her family, and they won't let her go astray. And so with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to download Gemstone Legends with our link in the comment section and description below, or scan the QR code displayed to you right now. You can win the iPhone 13 Pro, so don't miss out. Smash the like button, subscribe, ding the notification bell, and then we will catch you next time. But until then, bye bye.